everyone, and welcome to Core 90 Training with the community here at eXp Realty. So very excited that all of you guys were able to join us today. And we are going through our 8-part series. If you're just joining us on this, by the way, go back in your account and check out the last 3. But I will tell you, today we're covering the lending process. And sometimes I find that agents are just kind of mystified by what happens. It's like, well, just talk to your lender and hopefully numbers happen and things will be good. And so today, hopefully we're going to create a little bit more clarity, right? The great Tony Jerry always says, clarity, focus, and execution is what creates success. And so ultimately today we're going to create clarity, and that's going to help us to know what to focus on, and then we'll experience more success when we execute. And also be better partners for our lending partners out there, which will be great. And so we thought, who in the leadership team of the community would be amazing for this? And we have the always incredible Joe Yates, who is a finance kind of guru, but also has participated as a lender in the industry. And Joe closes a ton of transactions every year. And so he's volunteered himself to come to, or he got voluntold, I don't know, to come and show up today and to help the organization understand lending and really how this process works. Joe, welcome, man. So good to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, my friend. No, good to be here. Good lending. Lending is, I remember coming to the real estate side, and the real estate side was, come on, Melissa. As a lender, it's like the lenders are actually the cool guys. In our head, we were the dark side, and the realtors were kind of the,
the nerds. Yeah, I know.
Douchey side. They were just a pain in the ass. They were the ones they were prima donnas. They did less deals a month than us, and they thought they controlled everything. And they're the ones who always say, "You'll never work in this town again." It's like, dude, I do 5 times as many transactions as you do a month, and so it was just going from the lender side to the realtor side. One of the things that I have, which always reminds me of Happy Gilmore. Because he was a hockey player and became a golfer, and he was embarrassed to be a golfer because he just wanted to keep saying he was a hockey player. It was like that for the longest time. I'd see my realtor buddies not just be like going, dude, I know, it's terrible. My lender buddies. But anyway, that all aside, because of that, I have a huge respect for the lending side and what they do. I know what's going on behind the scenes. I know how they're getting the deals done. I know some of the things that we can do to screw things up. And so I definitely have a bit of an advantage when it comes to having conversations with them. And I've had lenders that just send me over a copy of the approval just because it's like, this is what I'm working with right now. And, a realtor look at it and have no clue what it said. But so, again, I have a high appreciation for it. And so for me, having that appreciation, it makes it easy for me to spot or know from a long period of time complete rock stars in the business like a Melissa Redding, and then so I don't have to suffer some of the mistakes on the lending side that a lot of people that don't know any better would.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's interesting because I've always thought of lenders, whether it's residential or commercial, there's a lot of lending that happens in the world, but creating debt in the economy, and particularly like MBS, mortgage-backed securities, how that drives the secondary market, that's key to our entire economy, guys. If you guys don't know, this is like the frontline warriors to the economics of America. And so this is a really big deal. And understanding how this works, it's not like just, well, shop the loan and give me the best rate. We're going to talk a little bit more about what impacts everything. And Joe, I know you've got the experience to help people through this. So where do we start? Where do we begin when we're thinking about lending as agents? Whether this is somebody who on the call, we've got people on here closing 100+ deals a year, and some who are like, it's my first day. What do I do? Where do we start in our thinking process?
Well, I can tell you that it's important regardless of who you are. Sometimes the more obviously the worse off you are. You're doing 100+ deals, you're really busy. So you're kind of counting on, maybe you got a great lender, maybe you think you have a great lender. But if you're having fallout and that, sometimes, when a deal falls out and you get told by your lender that it just doesn't qualify, then, it didn't qualify there. So there's a lot
Right.
of things, there's things called lender overlays that's, a lot of people, on the real estate side, they don't know what a lender overlay is. They just say, oh, they don't qualify for VA because they don't have a 640. It's like the VA's got like a 500 credit score requirement or something, and it's just like, so that's a lender thing. It's not a VA thing. And so, and then different ones, you want to make sure you're with somebody good to begin with. When I'll have scenarios where I've sent deals to Melissa that were going there to be a traditional deal. And if I'd sent them to somebody else and they said they don't qualify because of X, Y, and Z, I easily could have just went, oh, dang it. Well, you're 6 months out or 1 year away, or
Right.
wait to get those taxes filed, or whatever the case may be. And then that wasn't the case. The case was they didn't have the loan program, or they very well did have the loan program, but they didn't have the knowledge to know, what it meant. They didn't did their research to be able to sit there and go, oh no, this is a deal all day long.
Yeah.
All I got to
It's
do is flip it to this.
It's interesting. I'm so okay. So let's start with this. Actually, that's a really great point. So choosing your lending partners, because I know lenders many times will have a stable of agents who are helping them to source and secure business. Agents also many times will have a few different kind of prize horses that they recommend on the lending side, simply because different houses frequently offer different products. And so it's good to have an understanding of this person can do this, this person tends to excel well in this environment, and I can source enough business for everybody. How do you make those choices, Joe, with your background and knowledge? Who are your lending partners, or how are you choosing them?
Well, there are different times when people have different products. You might have somebody that is particularly good at construction. You might know somebody that's particularly good at an FHA 203K rehab loan. So for those of you who don't know that, that's a product that you really, you could use once or twice a year. Once or twice a year, it might be $15,000, $20,000 to you. So, there's some people that say, I don't want to deal with an FHA 203K rehab loan. That's a pain in the ass. It's going to take forever. I got to meet the contractor. I got to do everything else like that. So, and there's nothing wrong with not wanting to do that particular product. So sometimes, depending on who the buyer is and everything else, you might go different places, but you do have to have that rock star that has the knowledge to handle everything from, and they at least got to know A to Z. Whether or not they want to do A to Z is up to them. Just like us, right? I mean, somebody could sit there and say, hey, I got a luxury home and I got a $10,000 single wide in park. It's like, hey, I know how to do that one, but do I want to do that one? This year, I actually do want to do that one, but you don't always. So there's times that you're going to cherry pick, and lenders will do the same.
All right, so Melissa hopefully is watching the chat here. Somebody just asked if you do 203Ks. And by the way, I would recommend, for those of you who are just getting started in real estate, go find a comprehensive list or ask ChatGPT or whatever. Like, just what are the different types of loans and what do they do? If you're going to focus on the residential side, then say, for a residential real estate agent, give me everything. And just read through it, guys. Like, it used to be so mystical to find information. And now we just have a flood of information. It's readily available. There really isn't an excuse for having like knowledge gaps any longer, other than just, I choose Netflix over education, right? And so, reality being what it is, guys, if you want to be competitive in the kind of the next wave of real estate, you're going to have to be a top tier expert, and Joe clearly is in this category. So okay, so Joe, you were saying you're finding people based on capabilities. Do you keep an actual list of what everyone can do? Or, I mean, I know you really well. Like, I'm guessing you have this in your head and you're just like, I need a 203K. My client's a GC. He can actually do the work himself. This is like a perfect fit, match made in heaven. Let's go.
I have a huge advantage. Okay. And so what I'm going to explain to you is, if you don't have a huge advantage, how do you position yourself to where you have that same, advantage that I have? Right. So, I mean, I can oftentimes have a client and see kind of a scenario and I go, okay, this doesn't work for this, or it doesn't work for this. And I'll also talk later about staying in your lane. So I don't automatically think I know all things just because I used to be a lender. It's like, I know enough, but then I also try to stay the hell out of the way. That's why you need to position yourself with somebody that knows everything. And quite honestly, I don't care if you think your guy knows everything. A lot of times, there were some of the biggest producers back in 2006 that were just making millions of dollars in lending, but they were doing a ton of cookie cutter vanilla deals. It was just the conforming lending was going through like this. So just because you can knock out a bunch of conforming lending deals doesn't really mean you're a big rock star. It just means you're just running BS through there all day long. But what would happen with those guys is every time something would hit that didn't fit the mold, it would get kicked out like a rejected fucking product, excuse me, and end up on a, outlet shelf, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there with this, what's told to you as a crappy loan in your hand. And you're like, going, oh no, I guess I had a bad one here. No, you didn't. You had a freaking uneducated or lazy lender is what you had. So you need somebody that when that thing kicks out off the belt, and because it didn't make vanilla, that knows how to do French vanilla bean, or something like that, or next thing you know, it's Neapolitan. But one way or another, that's got to turn into something, and that's the person you need to be working with. So if your guy says and just goes, this doesn't work, that's oftentimes wrong. I mean, I make money because of the fact that I know that guy didn't have the final answer. So I just don't trust. I don't trust no. So
I love that. Yeah, and Joe, just for everybody who's here to learn, right? Conforming versus non-conforming loans. Let's throw out just a really quick definition of that. So conforming loans are loans that meet the Fannie and Freddie requirements and guidelines, and generally speaking, are non-jumbo. I mean, how do I do, Melissa? Do I need an alley-oop?
Last you've got it. It meets, I look at the guidelines as we have a Bible that everybody has to fit into, right? Like that doesn't change. What changes is, how you fit them into that. And so it is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conforming. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's just fitting those guidelines, guys, and it makes bundling those loans on the secondary market, which, by the way, everyone's like, why did I got a loan with so-and-so, and now my servicing company is this other person, and then probably gets transferred again it's because those are being sold by large institutions, commonly insurance companies, by the way, who own a lot of the mortgages in the United States, and then they sell them to turn small margins of a profit on ginormous numbers, trillions and trillions of dollars, right? Where they're extracting small fractions of a percent, but it's a lot of money changing hands. That's how the mortgage markets work. It's why everyone's making money along the way, and it all goes back to a rate set at the Fed. Okay, now we kind of know what lending is. keep going, Joe. Okay, so we've picked out our lending partners. What else do we need to know?
Let me, one more time on the lending partner, and just again, because again, I know that I have an advantage, so I need to sit there and try to explain how you can end up in my shoes. And it really is, I want to use somebody, Melissa and I know each other for over 5 years. No, okay, it's over 20 years. So back when we were doing subprime deals together, and I was a subprime wholesale rep, and so we were doing deals back when you were structuring deals. You had to figure it out. You're making sense of things. We couldn't have ruined the entire world economy if we hadn't put these deals together in the way we did. So I mean, but you had to figure things out, and it goes back to the vanilla stuff where the other people were just doing deals. You need to be able to do those people that with that creativity to go, what's my next product chance? What's my next option? What's another way I could put this together? And I literally know people that come to mind that I know they do a ton of deals and they're really good at what they do, but they just don't think like that. They're just not that person. And I would know that if that were my go-to person that I just did all my deals with, I'd end up with a lot of money left on the table, because I would have been told that these aren't transactions, or at least they're not transactions now. When Melissa turned freaking turds into checks for me because she knew what to do with them. And I would have sat there and went, oh, it looks broken. I don't know, and she goes, no, it's not broken at all. It's a good sized deal for you. And I'm like, all right, cool. Thank you. You're great. So that's the thing. You have to put yourself with somebody. The lender knows more than you. So even your potentially cruddy lender knows more than you. So they're going to tell you that they're great, but you really do need to talk to somebody else. And all of a sudden your eyes go this big and you're like, wow, they are going to put more money in my pocket. And that's what it's about, getting deals done for your client and putting more money in your pocket.
That's awesome. I just put Melissa's new corporate slogan there just for everybody. Turning turds to checks. I love it.
I never know what I'm going to say.
And ultimately, not necessarily where every lender wants to spend all of their time is, having to sift through the mud and figure it out. It's nice to get a little bit of T-ball every once in a while as well. But to have a partner, and I would agree, Joe, where you know that this person can actually get it done. If you're newer to the industry, here's how you find that out. Ask around. Ask experienced agents who are closing a lot of deals on the buy side, like who are your favorite people and why, and then take them out to lunch. So they'll explain it to you and maybe make some intros, and then go, meet up with those lenders and have a conversation about what they're looking for, what's their optimal client, who do they work best with, who shouldn't they work with. Some lenders are like, listen, this type of business is not a great fit for me. I've had people say, listen, I don't want to deal with jumbo loans. Okay, that's fine. I don't, whatever, to each his own. Like some people want quick turn, they're looking for a certain thing. So when you understand the product class that each lender is looking for, then you can bring them great business, and now you have a great partnership. Because remember, this is your lending partner. If you're on the buy side of the deal and your lender drops the ball, that's your deal going away as well, not just theirs, right? And vice versa. So everyone needs to know how to work together. Okay, so Joe, who are the key players? I mean, we've talked about the lender, but when we're defining lending in general, who are the players? I mean, we've got the borrower, we have the lender. I'm thinking like things like underwriters, the government entities, this kind of stuff. Who is everyone? I hear all this stuff about Freddie Mae and Fannie, and like, what are these things?
Hey, Jeff, could you throw my screen up there real quick?
Sure.
Yeah. So here were the things we were going to go over. And so choosing your partner was number one, and then realtor best practices, and then, programs to get you more money. But so as we're on the, kind of the subject of the, let me see here, the subject of choosing your partner. Once we get your partner, there we go. It is the experience and knowledge, and that's kind of the thing we've been talking about the whole time. And I just put experience without creativity is just old. So I mean, you have just like in real estate, we got the people. I've been doing this for 40 years. It's like, yeah, well, 25 too many. So it's just, there's a lot of people that have been doing it for a long time. There's a lot of products that have come and go. There's a lot of innovation. There's things that people are doing right now over the last couple of years that are great products that didn't exist a little while ago. So it's got to be the people that not only been doing it for a while, but have, they're also staying up on things. The creativity thing to me is huge. And that goes back to, again, knowing people, like Melissa, that, back when we were structuring the deals, it's got to be somebody that can put deals together for you. So as far as I'm concerned, when it's choosing your partner, it is that big experience and the knowledge and how to do things. And then, of course, you got into, to me, it's the products and positioning. So they've got to have products. I mean, some people literally just, I don't want to call anybody out, but if you just work at the hometown bank or, the credit union or something like that, you may be very limited on what you can do. You might be great for a particular client. However, you're not going to have this big, giant, portfolio that you're brokering to a lot of different entities and stuff like that. You might be really stuck in that Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, or just maybe a little bit of niche stuff. But for the most part, you're not going to have the tools and products available to you that Melissa has. So it's one thing. It doesn't matter if you're smart if you don't actually have the products to use. Anyway, so that's a big one. And on the positioning thing, to me, it's something where I want the lender to be talking to the client in a way that's selling the transaction the same way that I would. I don't want them to just sell their side, make themselves look good, and then pass me a hot potato. I said something pretty clean right there. That was pretty cool. And then pass me that's all of a sudden, because I'll get a client and they say, hey, you're pre-approved for 450 and everything else like that. And I go, great, that's wonderful. And they're excited. And then the lender will send me a text. I sent over the pre-approval. I need you to get me 4.5 points from the seller and contributions. I'm like going, dude, what that 4.5? I mean, I can't, that's once in a great while, but I'm not getting 4.5 right now. I just had 2 deals that were multiple offers. So now I've got a client that thinks that I'm supposed to go out there and work miracles because this lender just gave them this great pre-approval. They positioned things terribly, and they left it up to me to try to work, this magic. So you want a lender partner who is doing the same types of things and, positioning things the same way as you. Melissa, what do you see as far as like, when you're coming into this whole thing, what do you bring to the table? Who do you try to be as a lender partner? And then what do you want us to be as a realtor partner?
Joe, I think the biggest thing that sets me apart is that no isn't in my vocabulary. I think that you can't have a risk averse lender. We are all so afraid of making a mistake on a transaction and having it cost us our reputation that oftentimes we'll say no when it really was a maybe. And so, what I'll do is I'll say, hey guys, we're about to go on a roller coaster ride. If you want to buckle up and go on that ride with me, I've got a good pull through rate. I think we can get it done. Let's make it happen. And I do think that that's one of the most important things you can look for in a partner.
No, that is good. I mean, you know, because I've been on those rides, and all of a sudden you get to the end, and you're like, wow, all right, thank you. You know, you don't necessarily want to jump on again right then, but you know, but right. You do get your check. So what do you see as far as things that you know? We're going to touch on it again later, but when we're partnering up, what can I do as a good partner?
I think the biggest thing is getting me in contact with the agent, or I'm sorry, with the buyer as soon as possible, right, Joe? And you and I have worked with lots of transactions where the clients just weren't quite ready, and so being able to connect with them, work on those credit scores, work on debt pay down strategies, things like that. I think that's the number one key. And then when we get going, giving me just a little bit of time to make sure that we have a strong pre-approval. It's my name going on that, and I do care about that reputation. And when my name is on that pre-approval letter, you guys can take that to the bank. I look at it, when you hand me a transaction, you just handed me your paycheck and asked me to hold on to it for you and have it ready for you in 30 days. And so making sure that the buyer is properly qualified up front is super important. And with some buyers, that can happen in 30 minutes. With some buyers, it might take me 3 days because I might need to run that by the underwriter. I might need to make sure because something just doesn't quite look right. I think the next important thing is being mindful of property conditions. That would be the biggest transaction derailer that I've seen over the years, is that nobody tells me up front that we have chipped and peeling paint and we have, construction that's going on, or a roof that's past its useful life. And so just be mindful of that. Let's have that conversation up front. I recently did an FHA transaction that could have gone conventional, and had anybody communicated the condition of the property with me up front, we would have taken that conventional. But instead we, kind of had to wiggle through some difficult tight spots to get that to the finish line. And then I think setting realistic expectations. Let's have a conversation about those closing timelines. There's times I can close a transaction in 3 weeks, right? And then there's products that I might need 45 days on that. So let's talk about that and set those expectations for the borrower, the sellers, the other agents up front.
Does anybody have any, before I won't say, put you on the spot, but I will highlight you. Anybody out there that wants to say what they're looking for in a lender, or somebody that they particularly use right now, that what they like about them? All right, Miss Kimmy.
Let's see if we can get her pulled up here.
Oh, is Kimmy talking?
Oh, go ahead,
hi.
Christine.
Hi. Well, I just recently sent somebody to Melissa because I wasn't sure if she could qualify. She wanted to buy her own home, and Melissa has a plan to work with her over time, and we're gonna work on some alternatives there. So I know she's creative. I've just recently started to get her kind of on my radar as somebody that I want to work with, because I've been watching for a little while. We went to lunch or coffee or something a while back, but I hadn't really transferred over there at all. And so I had people that I had been working with for several years and stuff, but I'm always looking for new lenders because different people need different things, obviously, and you have to get that right fit. And I gave my client 3 different people to talk to, and told her what I thought of each one of them. And she called Melissa and said, I love her. Love her. Thank you. So I think that getting the right lender in there is a key. And I think that that understanding the process, like what you guys are saying, the position they want to be in and what they need is also very important in this game, especially now. and with our commissions and things like that going on, just having someone that supports us in that too, and saying, well, you
So. Can I highlight just a little bit of the details of that transaction with that client that you sent over to me?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Excellent. So this is a borrower who truly doesn't quite qualify, and not because I didn't have a yes, right? And so what I did is I talked to the client, got a lot of details. We actually sat down face to face, and was able to determine that this client is looking to purchase the home that they've been renting for 15 years, and they've got a great relationship with the landlord. The landlord's just done being a landlord, and the landlord doesn't have a lien on the property. So I was able to identify the opportunity of a seller carry. And I actually even talked to the landlord and about that seller carry. What would that look like? Even kind of soft pitched a 5% rate to try and help the buyers a little bit, and then turned them back over to Kimmy. You're going to need Kimmy to write this contract so that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And let's write it with a minimum of a 3-year balloon payment. That gives me time to get the borrower in the position to be able to qualify. I think in 12 to 24 months, we can make that happen, but I want that little bit of a buffer. And so this is going to turn into ideally a paycheck for Kimmy, a transaction for the buyers and sellers. And I don't get compensated for any of that, right? We're just holding that deal together, handing Kimmy her paycheck, and continue to work with the buyers for the next 2 years, at which point I'll be able to do a transaction.
But you have to know that you're going to get paid, because if you make this one work for me and help me with it, then I'm obviously going to be sending you more and more over time. I talked to a lot of people. I was just sitting here making a list of the referrals that I've received in the last week and going, okay, I need to follow up with these guys, see where they're at in their process. I mean, people think that it's slowed down, and maybe it has. They're not quite as ready as they were, but they're still out there. You just have to be networking it and letting people know that you're the person that can help them. I mean, I love it when they tell me when I think about real estate, you're the first person that comes on my list, or on my brain, or on my lips, or whatever. I had somebody tell me last week, well, you're just like Les Schwab. When I think about tires, I think about Les Schwab. And when I think about real estate, I think about Kimmy, So, I mean, whether it's, I just think that staying in front of them is important, and having these referral partners that are way more than competent is key. So.
Absolutely.
And having EXP behind us is huge. I mean, I have been so recruited in the last month. I even went to office meetings at the old Remax, and I tried to recruit them all over to EXP. So they got mad.
What a great compliment, Les Schwab of real estate. I love that, Kimmy. I did want to chime in here on this. Melissa, I haven't personally worked with you, but I'm really loving everything that you're talking about. You're definitely speaking my language. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring up, you've already talked about, holding on to, our commission when we provide you a client of ours that we're working with. And that means everything, to me, because I love all of my clients. I really want their process to go smoothly. I don't want a lot of hiccups along the way. So what I'm looking for, in that partnership with my lender is the communication piece. And I know every lender works with lots of different agents, and so they don't know how each work. And I think that's one of the missing pieces of the communication to start with, is how do you and I want to communicate together, and different to what you're used to communicating with other agents. I've been in situations myself where I'm asking questions like, okay, so when is it that you're doing this? And I'm going to let you know when to order the appraisal. Don't order appraisal yet. We're going to do that here. So that type of communication through the process, like you're talking about, let me know what's happening, property condition, different things like that. And when I'm also trying to teach and train and mentor other agents, and I'm asking questions to lenders, I had a recent lender say, well, you're not like most agents, I never have to tell the other agents when I'm doing the CDs or when I'm issuing them. And I'm like, well, I'd like to know when you're doing that. Like, that's part of my conversation piece with my client, where I told them ahead of time in my buyer presentation, this is when this is going to happen. This is when this is going to happen. So I'm very proactive in my communication with the buyers to include an insurance binder. I'm talking with them before they even talk to you. I'm letting them know, like, who are you working with your insurance? Let's already, this is the property we're identifying. Let's have you contact your insurance provider. Let's get a quote ahead of time. So I'm on that proactive sense. I feel that the success of a transaction is all about making sure that we as agents are doing everything we can to prime a client to meet with the lender, let alone a lender then doing their job and the communication coming from you. So, your communication on how that comes out, like email updates every week. When you're telling me there's a hiccup, something you're still waiting on, it's in underwriting, but I found out this, all those different steps along the way where I'm not finding out and constantly asking you, hey, what's going on, Melissa? What's going on, Melissa? Like, I've had to babysit, in a sense of what's happening. How come I'm not hearing from you? What's going on? To find out, well, we're still waiting on this VOE. And I'm like, how long have we been waiting on this VOE? I didn't know we were waiting on a VOE. And, I've had to step in to participate. And, that's the last thing that I'm interested in doing, is doing your job in any way, shape, or form. But so that communication is everything. And I'm hearing that all coming from you. And so I'm just saying that the partnership and talking with a lot of agents here who have either had a lot of experience or lack thereof, is all of this is very important to know more about who you're working with and have that conversation between you and that lender to find out how you guys are going to be working together through the expectations between the two of you and what I'm expecting on the communication from you, Melissa, working with you, right?
Absolutely. I think of it like, the golden rule is yesterday's rule, and today's rule is the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat your clients the way that they want to be treated, not the way that you want to be treated, right? If I'm communicating on a transaction with Joe, it better be via text. Don't you call that guy unless the house is burning down, right? He's not going to answer the call. He only wants to text with you. And that's where that relationship comes in, Christine. And so, we need to get together and have coffee, meet quarterly. I need to understand what your expectations are. How do you want to be communicated with? Do you want that text, email? Do you want a phone call? My team weekly updates every single real estate agent and every single borrower. So on Wednesday, there will be an email update that tells you exactly where we're at in the transaction, with a status sheet that's attached to it that gives you all of the key players, when the appraisal was ordered, when it came in, when the CD was issued, has the file been underwritten? And that's just standard operating procedures. But beyond that, do you have insurance partners that you prefer to refer to your clients? I need to know that so that when the client reaches out to me and says, hey, I need an insurance referral, I'm not sending them to the wrong place, right? You might have an agent that you don't want to particularly work with. And so we need to have that communication. We need to have that relationship. But it is all about communication and knowing when to bring you guys in. I think the hardest part of my job, Joe and I have had some heated conversations on a DSCR deal in particular, because the appraisal got a little squirrely. And what I try to do is fix everything I can on the back end. I want every transaction to be smooth. At the end, I want everybody to be like, this process is a walk in the park, right? And the way that I do that is I manage things actively as much as possible on the back end. And I have to balance, okay, when do I really have a problem and I need to bring you guys into that? And I think that that's an important distinction, right? Hey, Christine, I've been waiting for this document from your borrower for a week now. We asked for it last Wednesday. It's this Wednesday. We still don't have it. We're asking for it again, but I need you to know, can you just circle back with them and help us get this, please? Right. And so I don't want you to do my job, but I do want you to be an active participant when I reach out and say, hey, I need your help with this. Right.
Right. Exactly. And that's what I love hearing from you is I have worked with a lot of different lenders, and I did get, spoiled by one lender in the beginning of part of my career. And that's the one way that he would work, is he would take care of things on the back end. And I would usually get the call back end, not meaning that he had to go to my client and get it all figured out, but he got it all figured out. And then he would call and say, oh, by the way, there was this little thing, but situation that occurred. I got it handled. This is where we're at and everything's fine and we're moving forward. And it was like, oh, okay, we're good. So you're telling me, okay, moving on. So I didn't get we've got a problem. I don't, those types of phone calls are not welcome. I'm looking for a solution. We've got a situation. This is what I need to correct the situation. This is what, I don't like problems. I like solutions. And if it's truly a problem that we cannot correct, then we've got a problem, so, but if there's a solution, there's a correction, there's a fix, what is that solution looking like and how do we make that happen? So I love that you're really being very proactive on the back end, taking care of things. As far as connecting with clients though, it is important for me to know that there is something going on that I may not be aware of that is still sitting there, that the communication is going with my client and I've got no clue, that they're still working on something and I have no idea. And I'm telling them, hey, this is what I know so far, but I'm clueless. And like I said, I just recently had a transaction where it was like, oh, yeah, I've already heard from the lender like 3 times this week when I'm finally getting alerted, so it's kind of like we all need to be in the same page, so we know what's going on.
Absolutely.
But I love that.
See, that's one of the things I love too. And again, for me personally, being in the lending side, I'm not very easy to impress when it comes to a lender. So it's just like when she says heated conversation. Not because I also want somebody that's stronger than me. I want somebody, or at least as strong. Don't get cocky. No, but I want somebody that's that's going to be able to sit there and go, dude, no, it's just the way it is. And I'm like going, no, it's not. And it's like, I want somebody that's just freaking badass. Doesn't just know how to do deals, or I'm really good at customer service and I'm going to, good. That's, like they say, the entry level to even be in the business. So you need somebody that a true partner is like shoulder to shoulder, and leading this thing. I like when she said that, she doesn't, take no. And my nephew came to town, they relocated here and they were already pre-approved with somebody from out of the area. It's a big national VA lender. And, I do deals with them. I couldn't move them. But then all of a sudden there was a hiccup and they started going, oh, we can't do it like this. So I said, all right, call Melissa. We're going to get this connected. And the lender the whole time was going, she's not going to be able to do it. She's not going to be able to do it. She's not going to be able to do it. Well, she, not only, put them in the house, got them where they want to be, and then, got them to take a puppy, but yeah, she got the deal done just like that. So it was just, it's nice when you see somebody, you got one lender over here who is good, but can't get it done. And then you got somebody else that can just think bigger and just knows a way to get things done. On that GSD right there, choosing your partner, get shit done. Something that's really big is that you have to be able to have the power and the strength to push something through. And when you talked, Jeff, earlier about, underwriters and everything else like that, you got to be able to have the conversations with the underwriters. You got to be able to, some underwriters, you got to sit there and just be, really gentle with and just kind of like talk their language. And some of them you have to just go, dude, you're completely off. Sometimes you have to go to the boss of the underwriters. Coming from the lending side and being on wholesale, I know that there's somebody that's over the underwriters. Sometimes you can go to somebody and go, dude's not looking at it correctly. I need this looked at. I've got the guideline in front of me and it says it may require 12 months checks. That doesn't say it will. It says may. This is a guideline. And I need you to get this thing through for me. So there's times to do that. As far as that get shit done and we argued over a crappy appraisal, Melissa got her company to eat that first appraisal. They ate the first appraisal, they ordered a second appraisal, and then on their costs, and then we got the deal done.
So you guys heard it here first. Melissa's paying for everyone's appraisals all the way through 2025.
No,
I'm just generous like that.
But that's when you get shit done. That's not where you're just sitting
I know.
Going, bummer appraisal, dude.
It's incredible.
It was a tough property. It was a tough property. It wasn't obvious, there was anyway, but they still.
I love this though.
Still stepped up and got it done.
One of the things that you mentioned, Joe, and I think we heard this from Kimmy and Christine as well, and Melissa, I'm sure you feel this way. Communication in both directions is super important. If as the agent, if your stance, by the way, on lending is, I don't need to know that because I'm not a lender, you're going to do fewer deals, and the deals that you do are going to be more stressful. I'm just going to tell you right now, when you learn this part of the industry, suddenly options and opportunities seem to show up everywhere in your world. Because I guarantee you, and I know this to be true because I've talked to this guy a lot, if Joe sees a deal, he can say, I know how to put that one together. That has nothing to do with Joe's really great at filling out the purchase contract. It has to do with, he looks at the deal, and where some people might see obstacles, Joe goes, oh, well, if I come over here, I could, like earlier, I could do an FHA 203K. These guys can maybe do the work themselves. I did this one a while back where the borrower was the general contractor, and the bank said, sure, we'll allow you to do the work yourself, so long as you're GCing it and we have all the receipts, et cetera, right? So you need to speak some degree of lending, and the better that gets, the more intelligent you're going to be, but also vice versa. By the way, if your lender, and Melissa, by the way, I'm already blown away by you. This is incredible. Thank you for being here today. If your lending partner is not intelligent, I'm just going to be honest, and a great communicator, you're going to be in hot water at some point along the path. And they need to have a great team with them. The underwriters, the loan processors, like this entire company needs to have a great reputation. And just so you guys know, I posted Melissa's contact info in the chat. I'll post it again and we'll put it on the recording. But it's really, really important. Even simple stuff like you're doing a jumbo deal and your clients get stressed out because they're running 18 businesses or something, and you didn't know that you could use a CFP or their RIA. These are their financial planners to do the mortgage processing for them. They can do all the doc prep and submission on their behalf as a fiduciary. Like, this is the kind of stuff that when you have this knowledge, it empowers you as the agent to be a better partner. You can encourage your clients to stay on top of things. It's like, listen, guys, it's a race. When your lender asks for something, that means by 5 p.m., not by 5 p.m. next week, right? Like, this has to happen right away or you're not getting a house. And when you become that great coach, your lenders are going to love you. You're going to love them. Everyone's going to high five and make more money.
I tell buyers when I recommend a lender, I say, I'm recommending this person for purely selfish reasons. I want the deal to get to the finish line. Is that all right with you? So, I do. It's just like going, I don't care if your grandma is a lender. I don't care. I'm purely selfish. I would like this deal to close on time. If that's okay with you, I'm going to pick somebody selfishly that I know is going to get my money to me on time. That is how I choose who I'm choosing. And, if you're choosing the wrong way, if your deal's not closing on time, if you're continually frustrated, that's on you, because oftentimes we're the ones that have the ability to direct where our paychecks are coming from. So we're often in charge of the lender. We're often in charge of the title company. So if you're dealing with people that don't have a sense of urgency and aren't making your clients happy and getting you checks on time, that's kind of on you. I want to blast you a couple things. Go ahead, Melissa, go.
I just wanted to highlight, you mentioned, escalation, and when the underwriter doesn't know what they're doing to take it to that next level, which happens more times than I care to admit. But something you and I know that not everybody knows is the reason that I came back to brokering is it's important to not just have one underwriter that you can escalate to, right? So I've got a transaction, I send it to an investor, they say no, I escalate it, I'm bumping up against a brick wall, but I'm looking at the guideline and I know that I'm right. I have 10 other investors. Okay, Mr. Underwriter, you don't want this deal? Fine, I'm going to send it over here and I'm going to get that deal closed. And I'll tell you that pull-through rate is 99.8% when I'm looking at that guideline and I know that it's going to happen. So it's really important to be working with somebody who doesn't only have one channel of underwriting, No,
that's really good. And, that might not even make sense to everybody, but it does. It's just like being able to broker the deal out. It goes back to the guy that's got, you might be really good in your one little channel that you have right here. But yeah, you have one underwriter and Bob's in a bad mood today and everything across Bob's desk isn't doing too well today. So it's just like, never mind. You can broker here, broker there. It's one of the nice things about being in charge.
It only takes working for a bank so long and having that one transaction where you get to call that, expectant mom at Christmas time who's having a baby next month and tell her, I'm sorry, but the big national bank that I work for just declined your loan because there's some avocado trees and they're calling it a hobby farm. And there's nothing more that I could do because the underwriter is the underwriter. And they just said, no, Merry Christmas. It ruined my Christmas, right? And so that's why I'm not putting myself in that box anymore.
I love that, Melissa. And it's interesting because I see a lot of lending houses that are shifting toward what I would call like a common sense underwriting practice, which is getting away from what I would refer to as checkbox underwriting. And for anyone who doesn't know, underwriting is underwriting the deal. It's not underwriting the borrower or the property. It's the hybrid of those things put together, right? It's a deal, and they're deciding, do we want to purchase this note based on the credibility of the borrower and frankly the ability of the property to repay this note should you default. So really it's a risk assessment because we're going to sell this and it turns into a commodity after this. So we need to make sure it's a good asset. Good lenders like Melissa have different options. So if they go for option A and it doesn't work out, no worries, I've got option B. I love that you're like, I've got option through Z, right? That's fantastic, because also, not to mention, that means your close rate goes up, your paydays go up, but it also means your agent partners are happier and your clients ultimately are receiving the benefit of your expertise. So Joe, I notice here on your next slide that you say stay in your lane. You don't know rates, DTI, every aspect of that. I couldn't agree more, by the way. Don't be a lender, guys. Know lending, understand how to speak to your lending partners, and stay in your lane. So Joe, can you talk to us about this? What do you think happens here that can screw things up?
Yeah, so I would be somebody that would be probably most susceptible to violating this, just because of the fact that I think I know. But I also know because of that I need to stay in my lane. I don't. Just because I close the deal one day and I see somebody getting a 5.5% interest rate, and all of a sudden somebody's quoting, my client, and they're telling them it's 6 1/8. I don't sit there and go, hold the horses. What the hell here? Why? Because I don't know what their DTI is. I don't know what their, the nuances of their credit that the lender doesn't have permission to share with me, and some of these things. Sometimes they will, but it's just like going, for the most part, I don't know. So, and the other thing is, back in the day, we had to just shut our mouths sometimes because the lender was charging a few extra bucks. Still none of my business. Last thing I want is a lender sitting there going, we could probably get this deal done if Joe would cut his commission. So I don't want them doing that. Why the hell am I going to do that? Their fees, what they're trying to do, means nothing to me. This is a value that I want them. Is so long as the value that's being created and generated and transferred to my client is worth to getting it home and worth what they're paying for it, I could care less. So same with me. If I'm doing a great job and I'm getting 3%, that's nobody's business. So I stay in my lane as far as that goes, what fees are. I stay in my lane as far as what the rate is that I'm seeing across the thing, because all of a sudden I could create doubt. And then by the time we all find out that there was a reason for it, I can't undo the doubt that I've created. I can't undo the harm that I've caused. I can't undo the undermining of the transaction that I've done. So I need to just stay the hell in my lane on that whole thing. Christine, I love the way she talks because she does know more than a lot of other people. And it does seem like she knows where she's trying to push that boundary as far as like, I know what the CD is. I know when I need to get the CD out before I can get docs. And then so she kind of knows the process of some of these things that other people don't know. You don't necessarily need to know those things, but if you do know them, then yeah, it is going to be beneficial. Christine also talked about, which I have here, number 2, which I totally love listening to her, is that I'm like, you are the lender's assistant. Because I'm coming from the lending side, when there's underwriting conditions and these need to be done, arguing with them is not going to get you anywhere. I mean, you could try it for a minute, but it's not going to get you anywhere. I mean, because they need to be signed off. So they either need that exact condition or something that they can get this in lieu of this. But that has to get signed off. It has to be done to move it through the channel. Bitching about it isn't going to help. Just get the damn thing and get it as quickly as you can. And where I put in there, we complain about their turn time. Sometimes we'll get something turned in And then we're like, oh, okay, now when do we get docs? And they're like, well, it's going to be a 48-hour turn time to get docs. So you're not going to get them until, Monday. What, Monday? What the hell? It's like, dude, Joe, I told you we needed this on Monday. You didn't get it to me until Thursday. And now you're complaining about my turn times. So it's just like, we are the ones that can sit there and help this process along as well. If we want something to close in 30 days, then we need to be on our A game saying, what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Now, I can't help you. I don't know. So if the one time it would be frustrating and is all of a sudden I find out that we're not going to get docs until the following week, and nobody told me that we were still waiting on something that I could have got from the title company in 15 minutes. And I'm like, seriously? Would have been good to know, But for the most part, that's that really good partnership and that communication where I want to know what I can do to help, not to battle.
I love that. And I just posted here in the chat for anyone who doesn't know the SAFE Act, Secure and Fair Enforcement for Mortgage. And I had to look that one up, by the way, for Mortgage Licensing Act. But it's that's what specifies, that's a law that says that we can't practice lending if we're not a lender, and we can't speak finance if we're not a CFP or an RIA. So stay in your lane. Like literally, you guys will either stay in your lane or you'll look good in orange. And I don't mean Melissa's beautiful shirt. I mean a jumpsuit in prison, right? Because you guys are going to be jumping into some sharky territory. So just know your role. Understand the process though, because I love Joe. One of the things that happens when you have the knowledge, background, and experience that you do, and this is why you close so many transactions, is you can see things coming that other people might get hit in the face with, right? I can see that an appraiser might ask for this, or that the underwriter might not want at the last minute that we suddenly mention repairs that weren't mentioned a long time ago, and we've already gotten the clear to close, and now we have to send an appraiser back out. These are things, these are mistakes. Let's be honest, that's what they are. Let's call them what they are. These are mistakes on the agency side that happen a lot that great agents don't do. Well, sometimes, hopefully not so much. Great agents shouldn't do that. I think I would say more junior agents might bump into more often. But if you have a great communicative relationship with an experienced lender, guess what? They could say, hey, by the way, we're coming up on this period. Make sure that we don't have any of this happening so we can stay safe.
Well, there's little things with the... Go ahead, Melissa.
I just want to point out, you mentioned not arguing when the underwriter's asking for something, and that's great advice. However, for agents who might not be working with experienced lender who knows what they're doing, I do think it's important to sometimes say, okay, but do we have other options, right? This isn't going to happen in the time frame that you need. It doesn't do me any good to argue with you about it because the underwriter wants something. What's the problem, right? We have to solve for the problem. If we can't get this, what else can we get? And having that conversation, again, that open communication with the lender saying, hey, I'm not going to get, I've got one right now. We need a transaction history for 7 days. It's got to come from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is like, absolutely not. We'll mail it to you, right? So I went back to the underwriter and said, what if we backtrack those funds because they were transferred from A to B and we don't have 60 days? And we got some alternative documentation to be able to close that gap. So please feel free to talk to the lender. Don't argue with them. Don't tell them no, but give them a call and say, if we can't get this in the time frame that you're asking for, what are our other options?
That's really good. I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was, but it probably wasn't.
Joe, I'll help you along though. I love what you were saying about there. And one thing I was trying to, say within my context there too was in working with someone like you, Melissa, it's a matter of like speaking the same language to a client. So knowing your process and when things are going to be happening just helps me. If I work with you all the time, it's easy for me to say, oh, this is the expectation. This is when this is likely going to happen. This is when this is going to likely happen. Knowing when CDs come out, I personally think it's very important. I'm trying to help. They want to know when we're closing, when we're possession, all these different factors. And that's all based on when CDs go out, 3 business days, when we can actually sign, to then when we can actually close, to then I can answer their question on when we're going to, and are we on track for that timeline, or we are not on track for that timeline. Do I need to make any adjustments to that timeline? So I feel like for me, it's important for me to know where things are at, because I do know if they're out on Thursday, it's, Saturday is a player in that 3 business day rule. And then, I'm participating with helping, get the signings scheduled. So I think, Melissa, you probably work with different agents who are, you and the title company are coordinating that with the buyer. And the agents like you do that. Whenever they sign is when they sign. So, I'm just more of a hand holder through having the right conversation of this is what's next, this is what's next, this is what's coming, type of conversation, that we just are saying the same language. We're speaking the same thing. It's a stressful process for our clients. And my goal is to lessen the anxiety and the stress through the process. So they feel like, oh, yes, that's what she said. Oh, yes, that's, I understand because I'm hearing the same thing. And it makes sense.
Reaffirming each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love it when the agents get involved in the end process. To be honest with you, lenders and escrow oftentimes, there can be a little bit of a battle of, well, I don't have docs yet, I'm not going to set that signing. And so when we get the agents involved, escrow doesn't say no to you. So when you're calling them up and saying, here's what I need, here's when I need it, we're going to get this set up, they're going to say, absolutely, Christine, let's get that set up. So having that partnership, right? Talking to your clients about what does transferring those funds to close look like? I'm talking to them, but they're more often than not talking to me on the phone. I didn't show them houses. I didn't get to, really make that firsthand connection that you guys made. And I'm throwing a lot of information at them. And so having you reinforce that on your side, just like I'm reinforcing what you're doing on my side and saying, okay, now you've got your CD out. I'm sure Melissa has told you the next thing that we're going to be looking at is what does it look like to get your funds to close to escrow? And when are you going to be available to sign? And are you signing in area or out of area? What do all of those things look like? When I've got partnership from the agents on that, the entire process goes so much more smoothly.
Yes, because at that point, just what you brought up, Melissa, what if, who is where? I may have one person here, one person there. My ability, I know the clients more than you and the title escrow officer does. I know where they're at and what they're doing. I know that realistically what their schedules look like by having that conversation. So me coordinating and typing and telling you and the escrow officer at the same time, by the way, Mr. Smith is going to be, in Portland. He can't make it back, or he's in Washington, wherever he's at. And so we're actually going to have these ones signed here, these ones signed here, or they're all making it in, or they're not, whatever that looks like. But yes, getting everybody in knowledge of that as soon as possible is important, because we may have a notary situation going on. So, like you're saying, Melissa, I know a little bit more about them than you do. And you're right. It's a lot of money, a lot of financial stuff that you're going over. And when we get to the bottom line of how much money they need to bring in, that's a key piece, is how is it coming in, and do they have enough time to make that happen based on their options?
Hey, Jeff, you mentioned like seeing things coming down the road. So one of the advantages of coming from the lending side is occasionally hearing clients say things that are are going to cause a problem. I had a couple where one guy was sitting there talking. He said, "Yeah, I'm just gonna right before it comes time, I'm just going to go down and sell my silver for my down payment." I'm like going, yeah. Well, let's get with your lender really quick, because now all of a sudden we've got to source your silver. We've got to do this. We got to do this whole thing. I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know if we're going to take photos, and then we got to make sure that when did you acquire the silver, and because we're going to source and season this down payment, where somebody will say, I don't have a bank account. My grandma's going to go down and drop off the earnest money for me. No, hang on. Your grandma's not on the transaction. We got to make sure that, now we're going to be sourcing this earnest, source and season the earnest money. We're going to need to get a gift letter from your grandma. So it's like seeing some of these things when you hear stuff once in a while. It's not just seeing that peeling paint. It's a client could say something that you go, that's going to create a problem. And if you don't know yourself that could create a problem, but if anything sounds like out of the ordinary chain of the way things would normally be done, just say, you should probably talk to your realtor really quick on that, just to make sure. So, because I know that those are going to cause problems, but I just say, hey, just talk to your realtor really, or talk to your lender really quick on that, and ask them how to go ahead and move forward. Make sure that that's going to be okay, because oftentimes you can solve something that's not going to. Otherwise, that might not come up until late in the deal, and all of a sudden they get the receipt from the earnest money, and they're going, who's Barbara Jones? It's like, oh, it's my grandma. It's like grandma's not on the deal. So if you hear something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, step up. Melissa, what are things that you see agents do to screw up deals? And I want to move through, because I want to have you talk about a couple of programs at the end here real quick. But what do you see us do that messes things up?
Times than not, it comes down to addendums, right? So we're writing things into contracts that we don't want to see, to be honest with you, or not knowing when to ask that question. So I think the most important thing for all of us, myself included, is when we're looking at a transaction going, something doesn't seem right here, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to ask that question. But coming back to those addendums, when we're negotiating repairs, maybe that's a price reduction, maybe that's a closing cost credit. We just want that to be blanket, right? So buyers and sellers hereby agree that the sales price to be reduced to X, period. I don't want to know why. I don't want to know that we're doing a $20,000 sales price reduction because the roof needs to be replaced. Because the minute that I put that in front of my underwriter, now we have to have the roof replaced before closing. And no, we can't do an escrow holdback for that. And we just delayed your transaction. So I do think that oftentimes it comes down to things that could have been resolved with a simple conversation. Me kind of look, I had made some, let's just touch real briefly on buyer broker compensation. I know that's been a big conversation happening for about the last year now. It's really important to communicate with us who is paying the buyer broker compensation. So depending upon the form that you're using, if it's the OREF form, we're going to have that seller contribution addendum. Some of the forms don't clearly indicate who's paying it. So we get the buyer broker compensation agreement that says that someone's paying 3%, 2.5%, whatever that looks like, but we don't know who that is. And so, we're really reaching out proactively to determine that, because what we don't want to happen is to have verified funds to close for down payment and closing costs and get to closing and find out that, oopsie, the buyer's got to pay $20,000 to their agent and we didn't source and season that money. And now we've got to pull everything back, go back to underwriting, maybe even redraw loan documents. It can be a big delay. And then some of the things I mentioned earlier. So just getting a strong pre-approval, being mindful of property condition, setting realistic closing timelines, and not pre-biasing your client to a particular product. I love it when I sit down with a client and they don't want to talk about an FHA loan. Their agent said that those are terrible and that, it's going to require all kinds of things with the property. But I've got a 590 FICO score. The only option I've got is an FHA loan at that point. And I've got a borrower who doesn't even want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it because the agent has given them nightmares and horror stories. So, if you've got biases to programs, please don't share it with your borrower. If you want to have a conversation with me and tell me why you'd rather not go FHA, that's great. But please keep those biases between you and I, and not sharing them with the client.
That's awesome. See, and again, that's the type of thing that you want as a lender partner, being able to sit there, because we've just tied her hands now. And now all of a sudden she's sitting there going, great, the only thing I can do to help you, which is a great product in your situation that's going to give you, now all of a sudden you're going to have 10% equity in this home in 12 months, and you're going to be just moving you on to, the path we want to go. But Joe Yates said something stupid to you, and now I got to battle you through. And now it's going to be an underlying current throughout the entire transaction. So, and then anytime they hear the word FHA, and my grandma said she had an FHA loan a long time ago and it was bad. So then it's just going to keep reinforcing that stupid stuff that was said at the very beginning. Okay, Melissa, I want to touch on a couple of things I did real quick, and then I want to have you talk about the programs that we were talking about. One thing, just as far as doing deals, and these are a couple of things that literally have come up in the last month for me, but just being able to know that everything is not completely vanilla. I had a lead call come in the other night, and a gal calls me up and she said, I only got $50,000, so I obviously can't buy a house with $50,000. So she said, so I need to get a manufactured home and park. And I said, okay, cool. She goes, however, there's like $70,000. She goes, however, I've got a $100,000 travel, bus that I'm going to sell. And then I'll end up having $150,000, but she has super low income. So she said, so what can I buy with that? I said, same thing, nothing, so, now you got, a better manufactured home and park. But then I go, have you considered a reverse mortgage? She's like, what? And I go, yeah, well, a reverse mortgage. I said, if you got $170,000 cash, you could buy a $300,000 home with no monthly payment on a reverse mortgage. She goes, but how would I get it? I said, you use a reverse mortgage purchase. She said, I didn't know you could do that. I said, yeah, you could do it. I've did them a number of times. So all of a sudden now you got a scenario where you've got somebody that's got a limited amount of cash and can't afford a monthly payment, had no idea that she could end up going into a $300,000 home with no monthly payment. Her monthly taxes would have been lower than the space rent, and she'd be sitting in a better position. She would have been on that $50,000 manufactured home and park. That's just knowing what is available out there. Now, I happen to know that because I did reverse mortgages before. I did them as a lender, and I did them as as a realtor. But if I didn't know that, you can sit there and go to somebody that's a complete expert like Melissa and say, I know this sounds crazy, but anytime you've got somebody with a chunk of cash, it's worth a conversation. Say, hey, I know this isn't enough to buy a house, but here's a crap ton of cash. Is there a deal that exists for this person with this amount of money? And oftentimes there is. So this is all of a sudden what a lot of people would have thought that's not a deal. But I know that it's a $300,000 purchase for her. Another one that just came up is I've had a listing and I had people going back and forth on it. This person needs a contingent because they've got to sell 2 homes. It's a cash type property, $285,000. And the parents are going to sell a house, but they're only going to have like $130,000. Then the kids are going to sell their house. My people can't wait for the out amount of time on it. Another person wants to write an offer on it, contingent on the sale of a home. My people can't wait on it. The guy with the 130 wants to do sell or carry. And I just go to him, I go, dude, you got 130 cash on on this property. I go, you got a private money deal all day long. I said, we've got a manufactured home on the property. I said, you can go out there. You're going to be able to get private money for the rest of this deal. My people aren't going to have to wait. We can get this thing closed immediately. I don't know. I said, I do know. Go talk to your private money lender and get it done. We're in contract. So no, we didn't have to do a seller carry. We didn't have to work on the contingent thing. He went out, got private money. We got the offer in. Now we're in escrow. Now when the kids sell their house, they can pay off the private money, deal with the rest of it. But again, you got $130,000 sitting there. You got roughly 50% equity. There is something that can be done with this. Even if you went to Melissa with that, and if she couldn't do it, she could say, this is a private money deal all day long. So you have to have somebody that can sit there and tell you, that can direct you where to go, because these are paychecks that aren't going to be coming very quickly or aren't going to be coming at all if you or someone that you're partnering with doesn't know the answers for you. So, and now from there, I'm going to transition into the ones that she did for me, where I sent a client and I was like going, hey, she wants to buy a $400,000 house and she didn't qualify in the conventional terms the way I thought, but Melissa got her through, bought a, $400,000 house. It was a, investment property. And then next thing you know, they want to buy a $1.2 million home up in Eugene, which I had to refer out freaking 75% out. And, but yeah, and she got that done on the exact same program on a non-conforming type product on a $1.2 million purchase. And even the referral wasn't bad, right? So but this is because of the fact that somebody knew how to look at it, knew how to do the deals and get them through to the finish line. So, Melissa, go ahead and talk about.
I want to comment on that, Joe, real quick, because I think what you and I lose sight of is, we've been doing this for over 25 years. I do want to point out, I started much younger than Joe. We're not the same age. He's, clearly older than I am, but I don't expect any of you to be able to even know those questions to ask. So Joe, you've been doing this a long time. You were in lending. You know what questions to ask. What I expect from you guys is that you're working with a lending partner that's going to be asking those questions. Okay, you don't qualify on your own. Is there a non-occupant co-borrower, right? Who can we bring in on this transaction? Okay, we don't have enough down payment funds. Are there, grant options? Do we have some family that we can, get gift? Just close a transaction, $210,000 transaction in Christmas Valley, FHA, been turned down by 3 other lenders, ended up in my lap. One of the challenges that we had is the borrowers didn't even have their 3.5% down payment. Guys, we're talking like $7,500. I helped them call up family members. We got $1,000 from this one and $1,000 from that one and a couple $1,000 from that one. And we were able to make their dream of home ownership come true. So my point is, I don't expect you guys to know those questions. Please connect them with the lender that does know the questions so that we can find the answer that gets you your paycheck.
At the very beginning, Melissa, is that I know that I have an advantage because of the fact, but I also know that if I'd gone to you with both of those scenarios and said, I have somebody with this amount of money, and you would know, well, have they looked at a reverse mortgage? I know somebody has this amount of money on my listing. Well, have they looked at private money? I know that if I didn't know those things, that you would have known those things. And so that's the thing right there, is you need to partner with somebody that knows more than you do, or knows that I know that she has all the answers. And then when I don't have the answers on the other deals, I didn't know the direction she was going to take my clients, but I also don't set up any expectations. I'm just like, go there, let's find out, and then when they get an approval, doesn't matter what the approval is. Yay. We're approved and they're happy. So go ahead, Christy.
Well, I also just wanted to point out something that I feel is very relevant to a lot of agents in our market that we've seen. And that is, you have a seller who's trying to identify a replacement property, and it's taking a while to do that. However, the property finally comes on the market, and it happens to be, very low inventory. So it comes on the market, and now they're in multiple offers, and maybe they're competing with somebody who's in a better position than they are already because they have a contingent of home sale, but they didn't want to put their home on it's ready to go on the market tomorrow, but they just didn't want to be on the market these 2, 3, 4 months while they're trying to identify a replacement property and be sitting there saying, wait, we didn't find a replacement property yet. Wait. So they finally they finally want to make an offer, but now they're competing and there are multiple offers. So what, as a lender, would you say would be a great option for them? They're absolutely qualified to purchase, but now they have to sell their home to buy. And now we're not going to make it into first position because they've got a contingency.
First thing I'm going to say is that they needed to have a conversation with me much sooner so that we already had that plan in place, right? So we have a few options. I've got a bridge loan that's a buy before you sell. We're able to tap up to 75% of the equity in the departure residence. So let's say that we've got a $400,000 home that they owe $200,000 on. We could tap $100,000 of that equity for their down payment. The way that that's structured, Fannie Mae has a caveat that if we have a non-contingent offer to purchase the departure residence, we don't have to count the PITI in the debt to income ratios. So the bridge loan that I have is actually a 90-day non-contingent offer. So not only am I able to get you up to 75% of the equity in that home to be able to make your offer, but I'm also able to exclude the PITI on the departure residence, which will allow you to qualify for that purchase residence, because most bridge loans fail because the borrowers can't debt service both properties, and we've got to take everything into consideration. So that would be one of the options I would be looking at. If I had been brought in early enough, I would be looking at, is there enough equity in their property to do a cash out refi so that you guys are in a position to make a cash offer? Now you're king, right? Your offer is going to be top of the heap, regardless of if it's a little bit lower. If those things don't work, we're really in a time crunch. I have a blockchain HELOC that we can close in as little as 5 days to tap some of that equity in that departure residence. That's going to come back to what's their income and what's their debt to income, because now I'm counting the PITI on the departure residence, the payment on that HELOC, the payment on the new residence. But there are different options that we can already have teed up and ready for that seller/buyer to be in the best position when it comes time to make that offer.
Right. And so one of the bridge loan options, and not sure if it's a product that you have, but I've also heard of the one where if in the event, they put their home on the market and let's say, it doesn't sell within 120 days, then Do you have that product?
The bridge loan that I have, it's actually after 90 days, the investor executes on that purchase. They have to in order for us to exclude that PITI. So they execute on that purchase, and then you've got another 120 days to sell that home, Christine. So, the transaction stays with you, and there is no interest. There are no payments. The only upfront fees are we do need a home inspection on the departure residence. We're not doing an appraisal. It really just comes down to the equity position and the condition of the home. What happens is your seller is ultimately going to end up paying essentially another agent in the transaction, because at the time of closing, they pay 2.4% to the investor for the opportunity to be able to make this all work. But when you think about that, that 2.4% can be really mitigated and end up being nothing if it puts your buyer in a position to be able to make a cash offer and they're able to negotiate maybe $20,000 off of list price, right? So they get a better price over here on that purchase, even though they've got to pay that 2.4% on the sale. And they have 90 plus 120, so 210 days of free money. They accessed that $100,000 in equity. They had no interest. They had no payments. They had no upfront closing costs. So really, at the end of the day, that 2.4% is nothing to get them where they need to be.
And so this is the reason why I asked this way with Melissa, just for all of you to hear exactly how I figure you were going to handle it that way, because unfortunately we did have that situation with an owner of clients. And when we approached the lender saying, okay, we've been in multiple offers this many times, we keep getting beat out because they have the contingency. And so we're not getting anywhere. And I resurfaced the idea of wasn't there bridge loans? I mean, I remember back in the day that was a thing, and they went away for a while, and aren't they back? And, oh, but those cost too much money, she said. And I was like, what do you mean they cost too much money? That's not your decision to make. So the other thing here that I'm hearing from Melissa is facts. This is what it's going to take. This is a solution. Here's a solution. Here's a solution. It's seller buyer get to decide what those solutions are, but you've given them the solutions and what they cost and what they mean to them, and the empowerment that they have by having those options, and that they didn't miss out on an opportunity because a solution was present, the home that they actually wanted. So thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing all that, because I feel that a lot of people don't understand that there are solutions out there for every client.
Yeah, this is really great. And I'm loving hearing everybody connect on this stuff. And it's part of the reason why we have great leaders, great producers like Christine, like Joe, coming on, offering value and feedback. By the way, I did just post some creative financing terms. We don't have time to go through all of them today in the chat. In fact, I'll do this really quickly. I'll just put it on screen so it's memorialized in the video. But the thing that I do want everyone to know is that the more options you and your lending partner are able to start to provide or itemize for your clients, even, by the way, when you don't get paid, and I mean you, the lender, you, the agent, if you create options for people, what's fascinating is they will continue to come back and refer friends, family, etc. And you will get paid more often and more money as a result of simply not being selfish and worrying about every singular deal. That's coming from need and scarcity. Here's that list. If anybody wants to screenshot this, it's on your TV right quick. That'll help you just to get started. There are more past this, but this is just some things to be aware of. Okay, we're not going to go through all those. What I liked and I was hearing is that Melissa will help steer people into that. And I heard you mention there are some options there. And I think, Joe, you wanted Melissa at the tail end here. We're in 7 to 10 minutes here. What was it that you wanted her to talk about, these two critical products?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things we really came up with, which was important, is the fact that just no matter what the scenario is, go there and then say, this is what I got. This is my client. What can you do with this? And I think you're going to be impressed as I am. But Melissa, I mean, just the debt service loan, the down payment assistance program, those are a couple of things that, I mean, can start putting money in people's pockets immediately. They have for me. You want to go ahead and run into those a little bit?
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to do a quick screen share here. What's your strategy is our tagline, because it really comes down to strategy, which is why I threw that slide on here. It isn't just about rate. It isn't just about program, but it really is about what's the strategy that we're using to make that deal work, right, Christine? That's what we were just talking about. when we're talking about the debt service coverage loan, these used to be referred to as subprime. The new term is now non-QM. So if you're looking for something that doesn't fit in the Fannie Freddie conventional box, you're asking for a non-QM loan. And the debt service coverage, these are for 1 to 4 unit investment properties, and they allow investors to qualify based solely on the cash flow of the property. So they don't even have to have a job. It doesn't matter if they've got a business that's bleeding money. We're simply looking at what is the payment on the home, and what is the rent on the home, and what does that ratio look like, right? So if my rent is $1,000 and my payment is $1,000, my ratio is 1. If I've got 1 or greater ratio, I'm going to fit into this debt service coverage transaction. We can go up to 40 years on those. We can do interest-only payments. And there are some no ratio options. That $1.2 million deal that Joe mentioned in Eugene, the borrowers, the first appraisal, the value came in light, but the rents came in strong. And we just really fought that value. And thankfully, there was some inadequacies in that report. We ordered a new report, and now the situation reversed. The value came in fine and the rents came in low. And we were able to continue to persevere. I flipped it to a no ratio debt service option. It gave us just a slightly higher rate. The buyer really wanted this property. They were totally happy with it. We were able to make that work. We can go down to as low as a 620 FICO score on some of these debt service loans. The FICO score is going to affect your loan to value and your max loan amount. I'm not going to read through all of this. I think, all of you are kind of capable of looking through those details. But the highlights are, we can even look at first-time investors. So sometimes people, they want to become an investor. They're just not in a position to be able to become an investor. They've got to have some down payment, right? They're going to have a 25% or more down payment, and they've got to have a good credit score because they don't have a history of being an investor, and they can't have any mortgage rates or derogatory credit in the last 48 months. So we're looking for a vanilla borrower in that situation, but we can get them into becoming an investor so that we can then use that cash flow for that next transaction. These are also great for foreign nationals. So a foreign national is somebody who does not live or work in the United States. They don't have a credit score in the United States. They can be anywhere. And so we can do these debt service coverage loans. Obviously, they're an investment property because they don't even live in the U.S. Maximum 30-year fixed. It does have to be PITI, so not interest only. We're limited to a 70% loan to value. We have to have that. We can't do a no ratio. We have to have that, at least 1 debt service coverage. And there's a little bit of limitation on the property, but, we can definitely be helping those borrowers with very simple terms get into properties. A couple of the caveats: we do have to have 9 months reserves. If we've had any major derogatory events, we have to wait 4 years. So bankruptcies, foreclosures, those types of things. But some of the good things is we can use crypto for down payment and closing costs on these transactions. So where the conforming loan world doesn't like cryptocurrency, these non-QM loans are okay with it. We do still have to have, liquid funds for reserves. That can be retirement, investment, whatever. We're not going to look at the crypto for that because it's not being liquidated. The other thing I like about these loans is I'll have borrowers that come to me and they want to become an investor and they've only got a 10% down payment. On a traditional loan, I can't use gift funds on an investment property. On a debt service coverage loan, I can. So the borrowers have to have 10% contribution of their own funds, but the rest of the down payment can come from gift. So maybe we've got a little bit lower credit score and we've got to have a 30% down payment. If we've got a third party who's willing to give a 20% gift for the transaction, we can still make that work. We are limited to 2% interested party contributions on any investment property. But basically, if you're looking for an investor to get a yes on that transaction when the conforming world doesn't work, this is going to be the perfect product for that. Any questions on this product? And then I'll move on to the next one.
Not a question, just a reminder for some of our folks. If you're dealing with people who have cryptocurrency gains, there's no direct conversion. There's no 1031 for crypto into real estate. So they'll still have a tax obligation on that. Just remind your clients of that because it's a friendly thing to do, especially if they're younger in the game and they haven't done a lot of this. It's a capital gains event. They'll need to be familiar with that.
All right. So another product that we're using quite a bit to help, borrowers make that entry into homeownership is a down payment assistance program that is a grant. What I like about this program is that 3.5% is free money, no strings attached. And that's really important because a lot of lenders have a down payment assistance program that's a second for that 3.5%. The big downside of that second is they will not subordinate to a new first. So when we were doing these first second combos at 100% financing, when rates were 7.875, I now can't refinance those clients down to that 6% interest rate because of that subordinate financing. That second loan for 3.5% has that borrower stuck in their interest rate. So loving this 3.5% grant. It does go behind an FHA loan. It's qualifying to standard FHA guidelines. It can only be a 1 to 2 unit property. We can go down to a 580 FICO score, up to almost a 50% debt to income ratio. And we can even manual underwrite this transaction. So what that means, most transactions go through artificial intelligence. We're all familiar with ChatGPT at this point. Think of automated underwriting in the same way. Automated underwriting is analyzing the information that is put in based on an algorithm and saying yes or no. So when we get a no, oftentimes with most of your lenders, that's just going to be a no. We want to look at that for a manual underwrite. They do have to have a 620 FICO score for that manual underwrite, but we definitely can still turn that into a yes. So got some highlights here on what collateral is available. It's basically a manufactured home, single or double wide, 1 to 2 units, or a planned unit development. We can do condos, but I'll tell you guys, there's not a single HUD review and approved condo project in Jackson County to date. I check that list regularly. So while condos are allowed on this product, we don't have any that fit the requirements in Jackson County. This will kind of give you some idea of products that collateral that's not available. The manufactured homes do still have to follow the standard rules. They have to be built after June 15th, 1976. If we've got any alterations or additions, we've got to have an engineer's cert. And it has to be, detitled and real property at closing. Borrower eligibility, I get this question a lot. They do not have to be a first-time home buyer, right? We've got a couple of different ways we can qualify. And I have yet to have a borrower that did not fit into this product. So they can be a first-time borrower if they are qualify. If they're not, and their area median income is under 140%, qualify. And just to give you an idea, area median income in Jackson County is $87,800. 140% of that is $122,920. That's over 10 grand a month. How many first-time buyers do we have in Jackson County that are making over 10 grand a month, right? So they qualify. Even if they don't meet those first two requirements, if they are a current or retired or have ever volunteered for military, first responder, educators, medical personnel, or any kind of civil servant. So when I've got clients that aren't first-time buyers and they're not under 140%, have you ever taught a Sunday school class? Have you ever coached a baseball team, right? We're getting a yes every single time on these. Another thing I like about this down payment assistance is it does allow for non-occupant co-borrowers. Non-occupant co-borrowers are your friend. When your borrower does not qualify, they don't meet debt to income ratios, we bring in a non-occupant borrower, we can utilize their income to help strengthen the transaction and turn a no into a yes. And only the occupying borrower must meet the eligibility requirements. So dad can be a doctor who's making $1 million a year. We don't care because we're only looking at the occupying borrowers for meeting qualification, but the non-occupant borrowers help us to meet those debt to income ratios. Where this one really comes into play is think about your parents that have college age kids. They're going to be paying $20,000 a year for them to live in a dorm. No, put the kid on the loan as the borrower on an FHA loan. Mom and dad are the non-occupant co-borrowers. We're qualifying off mom and dad's income. We're building the kid's credit. Mom and dad have an asset that they're going to sell 4 years from now and make a profit on instead of throwing away 20 grand a year for college tuition. This is eligible for a couple different types of loans. A 203B loan is your standard FHA loan, and we talked a little bit about the 203K loan. So we can do a limited and a standard 203K with this down payment assistance. It does have to be an FHA loan, and we can't use any other DPA programs in collaboration with this. So we're looking at a 96.5% LTV, even though your borrowers didn't bring in any money. That's also a really important fact because a lot of your other down payment assistance loans, they're taking your borrower to 103 or 105% loan to value. What happens when there's a divorce? What happens when there's a loss of job? What happens, when there's a catastrophic event? Your borrower's upside down. They're facing foreclosure. You can't get them out of the situation. I want them to be at 96.5 because push comes to shove. They're going to call you up. You're going to list that property, even if you have to do it at 2%. You're going to help them get out of that bad situation because they're going to come back and be a buyer with you again down the road because you just saved their bacon. Any questions on this particular product?
I have a quick one. I've heard some chatter about combining the energy efficient mortgage, the FHA, that loan program. I don't remember exactly how that's structured, with an FHA 203K. Is that something that would be applicable with the DPA? I know that's like a three-way combo, and you may have to research that, but I'm just curious. Because the reason I ask is in a lot of sunny places, people are co-financing and leveraging these incentives to be able to do a 203K, add solar panels, move in ready, and the energy offset from the solar actually more than compensates them for the slight extra mortgage payment. And so they're coming in literally saving money every month just in their monthly budget. Is that something that you've seen happen or would be able to talk about?
So it's not something I've seen happen. Just for full transparency, I can do 203K loans. You're basically doing 3 transactions. You're vetting the borrower, you're vetting the contractor, you're vetting the project.
Right.
They take up a lot of time. We do a lot of volume. So I really, more times than not, unless we're talking about this product in particular, I do try to refer those out to somebody who's doing them all day, every day, and that really is their specialty. But I can tell you that product falls underneath that 203K umbrella. So yes, we're using that standard 203K loan as long as it meets the 203K requirements. So whether that's energy efficiency, whatever that looks like, that is going to fall within this product. And it does underwrite truly to FHA guidelines. So there really aren't any overlays involved on this.
So if agents who are watching this, because I know we're getting close here, we got to wrap up. If agents want to get in touch with you, Melissa, to discuss options, because a lot of times I think that's really important, or they have a borrower who needs some additional options. And clearly with this ideology of what's your strategy, you guys have options. What's the best way for them to reach out? We put some contact info before, but what's your preference? Is it there at the top of the page?
The best way to reach out to me directly is my cell. So if you'll throw that in the chat for me, Jeff, it's 310-977-1521. That's going to come direct to me. The reason I use the team number on everything else is I have 4, including myself, fully licensed members on my team. So when I'm doing things like this, I'm meeting with a borrower, I'm meeting with you guys to find out what your needs are. I want clients to be able to get a hold of somebody now. I don't want them leaving a message on my cell phone and not reaching me. But for you guys, give me a text, shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever form of communication you prefer. Let's get together in advance. Let's talk about some of these options. Let's strategize so that when the time comes and you've got that buyer, we already have that rapport, we already have that relationship established.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. Well, my goodness, we've covered a lot today. Hopefully everyone's going to get out of here. You've all got nosebleeds and a lot of notes taken, and you're going to have to go sort it all out. I know I learned a number of things today on some products I didn't even realize were available out there. And Melissa, thank you so very much for giving your time and energy to these awesome agents today to expand their knowledge base, but also understand how to better participate in this part of their transactional life. I think it's critical. Joe, what do you got to wrap us up, my friend?
Well, I just want to thank Melissa as well. And I would like to think that there's no questions out there on why Melissa was the lender that's on this call today. Yeah, absolutely outstanding. So thank you for everything you do and everything you do for me and mine.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Jeff and Joe. I appreciate the opportunity to join you today. I really did enjoy the conversation and the engagement from some of the agents. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Super huge. Well, we'll do it again soon. We'll have to have you back. And I just want to, before we wrap, there it is one more time on your screen, everybody. Better Call Melissa. That's my Better Call Saul reference, I guess, for today. Give her a call, discuss what your transactions look like, and get some options, right? Options are power. We've heard so many top producers say that, but having options with your lending partner is also power. And I keep saying lending partner because it should be a partnership, guys. So approach it that way. It's not a competition. It's not combat. And be nice. Just as a final reminder, things get stressful in real estate, but until you're actually on fire, be nice. All right. Thank you, everyone. You guys are great. Joe, you're incredible. Melissa, thank you for being here. Everybody, we will see you next week to continue. You'll see all that announcement coming out this week. All right, everyone. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.